Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 111, Dantas versus Leone, which happens on March 7th. Overall, I mean, besides the main event, you do have the opening round for the Bellator Season 10 heavyweight tournament. And actually, they got a good 8 fighters here. Blagoi Ivanov, Hale, Alexander Volkov, Holata, Peter Graham, Mighty Mo, Ryan Martinez, and Lavar Johnson. Not too bad, to be perfectly honest with you. Everyone kind of, I mean, like, Graham and Mo are more, when they, you know, they have the kickboxing background. They're more of, they're not the favorite to win it because they're not well-rounded at all. But they kind of have a role as an, I don't want to say freak show fights because that's really not it. It's special attractions in a sense, you know. Volkov, legit prospect. Same with Ivanov. Martinez and Hale, two really underrated heavyweights. Lavar Johnson, fond of UFC, heavy-handed guy, well known. Holata is kind of that one guy that, yeah, he does have a win over Sean Jordan. I just, you know, he's not really a prospect. He's not really well known. So he, you know, he's something of an odd man out here. He's not that bad. He has a 12-4 record, you know, decent. He is a decent heavyweight though. You even have Javy versus, or is it? I'll say Javy versus Eric Prindle on the prelims as well. So yeah, let's get started. We got Eduardo Dantas fighting Anthony Leone. Well, it was supposed to be Siala Siliga versus Eduardo Dantas, which would have been a really good fight. This is not a bad fight at all, though. Anthony Leone, he does have a split decision victory over Zach Makovsky. I believe I think he beat Ratino or something like that as well. 13-6 record, 6 wins by sub, 7 wins by decision. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's 26 years old, training out of Team Bomb Squad. Other guys that train there would be like Desmond Green, and it used to be where John Jones used to train. He is a good wrestler with some pretty good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, and a good scrambler as well. Eduardo Dantas, Nova União product, Bellator bantamweight champion, 15-3 record, 4 wins by KRTKO, 5 wins by sub, 25 years old. And like most of the top-rated Nova União guys that you see, more specifically like Renan Barão and Jose Aldo, one thing you notice, and you see it in Dantas too, he has a strong Muay Thai, really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, particularly strong arm triangle, because like pretty much all the guys in Nova União have strong arm triangles, and strong takedown defense as well. And you see it in Dantas. I mean, that's all there, you know. Even the arm triangle thing. I mean, he beat Zach Makovsky by an arm triangle. You know, good Muay Thai. I think he flying knee to Wilson Hayes, if I'm not mistaken. Beat up Marcus Galvão with punches and knocked him out. Really strong Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Showed some good kicks against Makovsky. The thing with Dantas is, I think he's pretty far ahead of a lot of the bantamweights that Bellator has to offer. Like I said, Anthony Leone is a solid prospect. Even though he has like close to 20 fights, you know, he's only 26. I'd say he's still something of a prospect. I would have liked to see Dantas versus Siala Siliga, but this is a good fight. I think Eduardo Dantas wins this one. Better stand-up. I think he can defend the takedowns and beat Leone on the feet. I gotta even wonder what the fight would be like on the ground as well. Okay, next fight is that Lavar Big Johnson fights Ryan Martinez. This is actually a really hard fight to call. One thing that's interesting though is the height differential. Ryan Martinez is 5'11". Lavar Johnson is I didn't list it here, but it's like 6'3", 6'5". He's pretty tall. You know, Lavar Johnson has a 17-8 record, 15 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub, and 1 submission win by strikes. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 5 losses by sub. 36 years old on a 3-fight losing streak. Heavy-handed guy, man. This guy, when he touches you, I mean, he got knocked out. You know, I remember in the UFC, I mean, granted, the guys in the UFC he knocked out, were Joey Beltran. He has a good chin, but he's definitely undersized. And Pat Barry, who's actually gotten knocked out in a lot. Nonetheless, I mean, the guy's just heavy-handed, and he throws big leather. His boxing's pretty solid. Like, he will use a jab, and he'll use his jab and uppercuts are the best punches I see him use. And also, like, wing, like, overhands and whatnot. His grappling, though, is weak. You put this guy on his back, and he's, like, done. You know? Brendan Shaw managed to more or less lane prey on him. Sean Jordan, Americana hit. I think he got an Americana on him. Shane Del Rosario managed to armbar him. Yeah, Lavar Johnson doesn't have a strong grappling game. Ryan Martinez, though, just totally one of the most in my opinion, one of the most overlooked heavyweights out there. Physically, it's funny. He's like a 265 heavyweight, and he's 5'11", similar to like a Mark Hunt. Like, he probably can't cut to 205. It's just he's just like this body type is just a certain way, you know. A very thick guy. 10-3 record. 5 wins by KO or TKO. 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. 26 years old. He is a good boxer and actually a pretty good wrestler. You know, his takedown defense isn't too bad. I remember seeing him in I think it's like a Pro Elite show. Yeah, I think it was one of those Access TV Pro Elites. And I remember he fought really good wrestler. Defended all his takedowns, beating him all on the feet. I forgot his name now. But yeah, you know. And then he went to Bellator, lost a couple, won a couple. He got a good win over Rich Hale with ground and pound. In a fight he took on short notice. Still only 26 years old versus Lavar Johnson, who's 36. This one's actually hard for me to call. I mean, Lavar Johnson would be the easier pick just because a lot of people know who he is. And he hits hard. He's taller. He might be able to just use his reach on Martinez. Johnson did get knocked out by Vinicius Queiroz in his last fight. Pretty much face planted. Martinez, I mean, when he lost to Vitaly Minakov, it was a TKO. It was just more ground and pound. He wasn't like out or anything. You know, I'm actually kind of tempted to go with Ryan Martinez. He's just younger. Like I said, he's very solid. Very overlooked as well. Good boxer, good wrestler. I'm not saying he'll be like a top 10 UFC heavyweight or anything. He could be a top 11 to 15, though. Which I don't know if that means that much, but you know, I can see Lavar Johnson winning, though. I mean, like I said, the guy hits really hard. He's a big dude. I'll also say this with cardio, too. If you watch Lavar Johnson's cardio is a bit iffy. He doesn't get past the first round a lot. Ryan Martinez has actually gone to the 3rd round before. He lost in the 3rd round against Vitaly Minakov. But, you know, he wasn't like... I mean, they were both a bit gassed, but they weren't like dying out there, you know. To my knowledge, I maybe I have to watch the fight again, but I remember Ryan Martinez actually didn't have, despite the way he looks, he doesn't have that bad of cardio, if I recall. His cardio has always been, you know, pretty decent. I'm going with Ryan Martinez here. I think he's just little more solid than Lavar Johnson, but like I said, Lavar Johnson can easily turn on, win the fight just with one punch. Okay, next fight after that, Peter Graham fights Mighty Mo Saliga. Peter Graham, 9-6 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by decision. He also has 5 losses by submission. He's 38 years old. He's got that really strong kickboxing and particularly strong leg kicks. His grappling is not very good. And against Eric Prindle, you kind of saw that his cardio isn't the greatest. Of course, he kind of threw everything he had at Eric Prindle. When he fought Czech Congo, though, he didn't look super gassed out dead. With Mighty Mo, 5-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's 43 years old on a 2-fight win streak. He is a finisher with no decisions. Never went to decision in MMA. And of course, he has that strong kickboxing. And then his last fight against Ron Sparks, he actually took him down and won by Americana. Now, here's the thing with that. I gotta wonder if Mighty Mo might try and take down Peter Graham. I don't think it's that outside the realm of possibility. Striking wise, Mighty Mo's a really good striker, of course. I think the fight's gonna stay standing. I'm going with Peter Graham. Should be a fun fight. It's actually one I'm really looking forward to. In my opinion, it's kind of a toss-up, but I'll go with Peter Graham to win this one. Okay, in the final fight on the main card, you got Mark Holata versus Alexander Volkov. The funny thing with Holata is that I haven't seen too much of him. He's actually fought in Bellator, I think 3 or 4 times, maybe in 5. And if I'm not mistaken, all his fights end in the first round. Knocked out by Sparks, if I'm not mistaken, or Prindle, I forgot which one. One of those 2 guys. He beat Abe Wagner with a leg lock. But you don't get to see too much of him, He has a 12-4 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. He's 31 years old. I remember against Wagner, he showed a good takedown game, decent stand-up, he'd throw a 1-2 leg kick and whatnot. But yeah, it's funny. He's fought a good amount in Bellator, but I just haven't seen it a lot because, like I said, his fights, win or lose, tend to end in the first round in Bellator. Volkov, 19-4 record, 14 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub, 2 and he also has 2 losses by submission. He's 25 years old, training out of Rust Fighters. And is one of the students of Shlomenko. He is the former Bellator heavyweight champion before losing the title to Vitaly Minikov. Stand-up's really good. He uses combinations really well. It's really good use of range. And the Brett Rogers fight, he uses combination, he uses range well. Even against Rich Hale. He's not a big heavyweight. For one, he's tall, but he's a 220, 230 heavyweight. Still young. His takedown defense isn't that great. I think it was Vinicius Quiroz, actually, who kind of took him down pretty easily, and his grappling, honestly, didn't look that great. Volkov's not a one-punch KO type guy. From what I've seen, he does have 14 wins by KO or TKO. But, he isn't shown to be that total one-punch type guy. Nonetheless, I will pick Alexander Volkov to beat Mark Holata. I think he beats him up in stand-up. If Holata takes it to the ground, it could get interesting. I don't know how much Volkov. I hope he's worked on his takedown defense. Though last time I saw it tested, it didn't look that great. So yeah, but nonetheless, I can see the fight kind of stay standing. I'll go with Volkov to win that one. Okay, on to the prelims. We have Hale versus Blagoi Ivanov. I'm pretty high on Blagoi Ivanov. He has a 9-0 record with 1 no contest, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 27 years old. Funny thing is, actually, that 1 no contest, it was against Alir Latifi, right? And the reason why it's a no contest is the ring broke. He's only 5'11". He's not a big heavyweight, but he comes in around what, like 240, something like that. He is a Sambo champion. He has also Sambo credentials and whatnot. His takedowns are solid. Submission ability is solid. He's coming off getting stabbed in the heart, actually. Came back to fighting. So, awesome backstory. His stand-up is improving, but his defense needs a lot of work. I have seen him rush in to throw strikes a lot of times. He does hit hard, but defensively, it could definitely use some work. Hale, solid fighter, 21-6 record with 1 draw, 10 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. And one thing about one of those subs was the inverted triangle choke. And coming from a big guy like Hale, that's pretty impressive. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO as well. He's 28 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. Solid boxer, and he does have good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. Very much a solid heavyweight. Like I said, he's not one of those guys I'll be like a top 10, but he does have a good mix of boxing and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. One of his problems though is he does back up in a straight line. I remember Cristiano Pumba actually caught him for that. I don't know if I'd call him chinny per se. But most of his losses are by KO or TKO though. Like I said, I don't know if I'd call him chinny. He's taking some pretty hard shots with from Thiago Monster Santos. But yeah, interesting fight. I'll go with Blagoi Ivanov. I would love to see Blagoi Ivanov versus Vitaly Minakov as a final. I think that'd be really cool. Like I said, that Hale, solid fighter. I can see him pulling off the win. But yeah, I think Blagoi should be able to take the fight to the ground. And while I think Hale has the better stand-up, and might be able to even tag Ivanov, Ivanov's stand-up isn't like poor by any stretch of imagination, and he could potentially even tag Hale. So I'll go with Blagoi Ivanov to win that one. Okay, next right after that, Cortez Coleman fights Daniel Miller. Well, I don't know anything about Daniel Miller, so I never seen him fight. I think it's his first fight in Bellator, so I can only go with what I know. Daniel Miller has a 4-2 record, 3 wins by sub, 1 win by decision. He's 28 years old. Cortez Coleman, 9-5 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. 32 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. Decent boxer, actually. Pretty recently, I actually just watched the Keith Berry fight. Pretty fun fight too. He almost got knocked down in the first round, managed to reverse into top position and rode up top position and ground and pound in the first round. And in the second round, he was actually doing pretty good into dirty boxing. I liked his uppercuts, especially from dirty boxing. And his overall boxing wasn't too bad as well, but it did get a bit wild at times, probably because he was tired. Regardless, I mean, he has a lot more experience too than Daniel Miller, so I'll go with Cortez Coleman to win that one. Okay, next right after that, Javy Ayala fights Eric Prindle. Eric Prindle has an 8-4 record with 1 no contest. The no contest, if I'm not mistaken, comes from the ball shot, right? He has a history with Thiago Santos of like trading strikes to the balls that have resulted in like DQs and whatnot. He has 5 wins by KO or TKO, one submission, 1 by strike. Also has 2 losses by submission. He's 37 years old. Heavy-handed guy. I mean, this guy hits really hard. He's a legit like 265. Huge heavyweight. I mean, he's got some big arms. Good boxer. His grappling and his cardio, though, definitely needs some work. He's got a good chin, too. Ayala, 6-3 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's coming off that upset over Thiago Santos. He was actually getting tagged a lot too, and he managed to. He finished pretty much in the last like seconds of the first round. He got him with like 3-1-2 combinations, if I'm not mistaken, and knocked him out. It was a big upset. I liked what I saw from Ayala too. His kicks were pretty good. He moved well for his size. He's like a 265 heavyweight, you know. Could probably lose a couple pounds. He could probably go down to like 255. His defense, though, wasn't the greatest. He was getting tagged pretty cleanly. With that said, it's tough for me to call because I can kind of see the fight just stay standing. I think more people know who Prindle is, but to me, Prindle's always been kind of a hit or miss guy as well. I'll actually go with Javy Ayala to win this one. Like I said, I liked his movement. I liked his kicks. His overall offensive stand-up wasn't too bad. Defensively, yeah, needs some work, but like I said, I'll go with Ayala to win this one. Yeah, next fight after that, I don't know anything about these guys actually, but Matt Jones fights Emeliano Sordi. Well, this one's pretty telling. You see there's a lot of Bellator prelims. You got this guy who's coming off a losing record fighting a guy coming off a winning record. Matt Jones has a 4-6 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 31 years old on a 3-fight losing streak. Emeliano Sordi has a 12-4 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's only 23 years old on a 3-fight win streak. Based on that, I don't know anything about these guys. I'll go with Emeliano Sordi though. Guy's coming off a 3-fight win streak, whereas the other guy's coming off a 3-fight losing streak. Records are very different as well. Next fight, that Chris Jones fights Brent Primus. Don't know much about Jones, but I've actually been impressed with Primus. Jones has an 8-2 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. Brent Primus, 4-0 undefeated record, with all of his wins being by first round rear naked choke. He's only 28 years old, training at a sports lab. Other guys that train out of sports lab would be Dave Jansen, Mike Pierce, and Pat and Ryan Healy. He does have some good wrestling and some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills as well. I gotta go with Brent Primus. He's actually someone that's been doing very well in these Bellator prelims, notching a lot of wins here. He's actually a guy that I can see get into a Bellator tournament, to be perfectly honest with you. He seems like a pretty decent prospect. Trains at a good camp too, you know. Definitely, pretty decent prospect for sure. And finally, Stephen Banaszak fights Treston Thomison. Well, Treston has a 7-1 record, 1 win by KO, 5 wins by sub. He is on a 3-fight win streak. Don't know much about either of these guys, to be honest. Stephen, though, 2-1 record, 1 win by KO, 1 win by sub. Also has a loss by submission. He is a finisher. He's never been to decision, and he's never been past the second round. Experience-wise, I mean, Treston has a lot more fights, so I'll go with Treston Thomison to win this one. Okay, to recap, I have Eduardo Dantas over Anthony Leone. Ryan Martinez beating Lavar Johnson. Peter Graham over Mighty Mo Siliga. Alexander Volkov over Mark Holata. On the prelims, I have Blagoi Ivanov beating Rich Hale. Cortez Coleman beating Daniel Miller. Javy Ayala beating Eric Prindle. Emeliano Sordi over Matt Jones. Brent Primus over Chris Jones. And Treston Thomison over Steven Banaszak. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 111, Dantas vs. Leone. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.